Dolphins fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. We are live on YouTube. And if you are listening after the fact, then you are listening live on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, iTunes, wherever the case may be, as it's another episode of The Finish Line presented by Believe. And I am joined by the legendary Richmond Webb, the Triple OG, Mr. BallGame. Gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a jam-packed show, some juicy stuff to talk about, and we're going to pick Richmond's brain a little bit tonight because this is a man who he himself has dealt with a pec injury. And I had to send him the Austin Jackson all 22 and pass pro, and we had to get his thoughts because it was just not a pretty sight. So, and we're going to talk about, a little excerpt out of that I haven't really talked on YouTube yet about that I've saved for this show. And that was that excerpt from the CBS broadcast and, about Flores and everything like that. And then, mixed in with something that Tua said after the fact. But gentlemen, it is another week where we're celebrating a victory to start off the show. This is, we've gone from trend to routine, gentlemen. So how are y'all feeling? Dolphins said, Bills, you're nothing more than a placeholder. Thanks for keeping the top seat warm. They took it back atop of the AFC East, heading into a matchup where it seems some of the fan base is split. It seems some are underestimating them, and the ones that are underestimating them are trying to make it out, though the ones of us that might be a little bit weary of this matchup might be overestimating them. So how are y'all feeling heading into this week, guys, coming off another win?
Hey, what's up, brothers? Mr. BallGame Reason. I'm doing good. Always good to get that that W, another one at home. And I think we previously already talked about this 3-game away road stretch that we have coming up, and 2 on the West Coast, and then head back to Buffalo. And it just shows that, we're in a really good position, but at the same time, we're in a tight race in the AFC East. It's very similar to what the NFC East is. Just about everybody in the NFC is right now slotted to be in the playoffs, and 3 out of the 4 teams in the AFC East Dolphins, Bills, and the Jets. Dolphins and Bills are tied, but Jets are one game away, and so it just shows how important it is to continue to try to win and get those victories, because you can go from 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 or 7 in a matter of a couple games. So definitely happy about getting the win. I like the way the defense played on this past Sunday, and I know we got a tough game. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is the offensive line. We lost Jackson and Terron Armstead, so that was a big concern, and you could see a huge drop-off once Armstead came out the game, and I was glad they went and kind of pulled Tua out of the game. But that's my biggest concern right now going into this week against the 49ers. But I still feel good. I think we can pull it off. How you doing, Mr. BallGame?
Awesome. Ever so close to this baby getting here, and another win to set us up for a playoff contention.
Granddaddy ball game. Granddaddy ball game.
Pawpaw. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put that on the back of my license plate. Pawpaw. You know what I'm saying? I said, I think last week that I felt like they were gonna, you know what I'm saying, pretty much go out there and just, bust these dudes up. Texans were a tune up for what's to come. And when you when you shut your quarterback down at the halftime, that pretty much tells you exactly what what the game was like. You know what I'm saying? My concern was that, I felt like they still probably should have played at least to the end of the third quarter and then sat them in the fourth like you were doing in a regular preseason game. You know what I'm saying? So that way they don't, have too much.
That line though, bro.
But I get.
He was getting smoked in that third quarter, bro. That protection was falling apart on those two drives. It was a nightmare, bro. It was.
They can't get better, man.
I think if the protection would have held up, you might have seen him go till the end of the third. But that protection just was an absolute nightmare and a disaster. So,
but overall, whenever we win, and it's always a bonus. So then that makes things a lot easier, and then you can just go ahead and just talk about it, move on from it, and then get ready for the next one. And I think I'm not split. I think now at this point, based on what I saw on Sunday and how these guys, are gravitating to each other, especially off of what Moses said and everybody, chiming in and having to say about it. I think they're ready for the test, man. At the end of the day, Mike doing his best to. Yeah. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? To beat the man, you got to beat. To beat the man, you got to beat the man.
Woo!
And even if they are way out there on the West Coast, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Good quality execution travels. Yeah. And that's what we've seen the last couple of weeks from this team. So I think they'll do what's necessary and what's right by the players to ensure that they have the best five out there, offensive line wise, and the rest will take care of itself, because you stop Bosa and you minimize Warner to some degree. The rest is history. I'm not worried about that back end. So,
thanks for reminding me, BallGame. I was gonna have Tyler Dunn of GoLong.com on Finside the NFL tomorrow. He's the author of that article where Raheem Mostert made those comments about the San Francisco 49ers. We're actually going to record it today, and we're actually recording. That show's going to drop now next week, because he wanted to wait for the heat to die down a little bit of what's going on with because if people don't know, what Raheem Mostert said in that article was, one of the things was, the difference is, and I'm paraphrasing, well, they asked what's the difference. He said one of them was, we have a quarterback now who can sling it, right? And then the other comment,
talent, right?
And then the other comment he said was, we have more talent here.
Yeah.
And that set him and Debo off. So we're gonna talk to, he would have talked about it this week, but he wants it to die down. So I'll have Tyler Dunn on the show next week, and because the game will be passed.
Right.
So now we'll talk about the Raheem Mostert comments and everything tomorrow. So I'll have the article of that. It was the 2-part Tua article, right? He's the same guy who did the Lynn Bowden Jr. article that came out. Remember last offseason about what happened in Vegas and stuff?
Right.
And then he wrote the Chase Edmonds piece this offseason too. He's a great guy and great writer. Anyways, little housekeeping before we move on, boys. Bet Online remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, and it's one of the sponsors of the Finish Line. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long, whatever the sport may be. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, gentlemen, let's get into it. Let's start off with the previous game, the Texans game. We're going to start off overall, before we get into specifics here. What were your guys' thoughts on it? Now, BallGame has a point. It's rare, because think of it, guys. If you score a couple 2-point conversions, that's a 4-possession game, right? Like, it's not like that was a 6-possession blowout by the end of the third. You know what I mean? And again, we talked about it. The offensive line, tying into that offensive line. Richmond, let's start with you. I mean, I'm sure you watched the game, so give me your thoughts on the run sets, but you saw a lot of the pass pro, because I sent you the all 22 of his pass pro sets. What were your overall thoughts on Austin Jackson? Because one of the things that I've talked about since that game, and I've talked about privately, I've talked about publicly, and you didn't need to watch the all 22. It was clear the cohesiveness was not there. It felt, you could feel something was off when you were watching the offensive line. You just could. And what were your thoughts specifically on Austin Jackson's performance? And then we're going to go deeper into that.
Yeah, I watched the all 22, and it didn't take long. I could tell that his ankle is not healed. I could tell it was the right ankle by the way he was setting in his pass sets. In the run game, he did much better, but anytime he had to set back and try to take on that defensive end or linebacker, he would swing that right leg open and open his hip and give him the short corner. And he had problems bracing when trying to take on the bull rush. And he looked like a totally different player than before he hurt the ankle at the beginning of the season, because he was playing really, really well. So, that stuck out like a sore thumb. So my hat is off to him for trying to gut it out and, come back and play. But his ankle, I don't know if it was a high ankle sprain or whatever, but he's not ready, because his movement is limited in the passing game, and that could be a disaster. And it really showed once Terron Armstead went out at left tackle, that it just seemed like the floodgates just opened up. That it was glaring and this and that, but I think it's because he's still injured, and he tried to come back, but he's not ready to play. So I think that's why they shut him back down. But at least he gave an effort to try to come out and help the team, but he wasn't ready to play.
Yeah, like the bull rush was really concerning, because I forget who it was. It was that kid that O'Connor. I don't know. I don't want to butcher the kid's name. And I think he's 40. I don't know. Anyways, he's coming off the left side, obviously. And so right, but off the left side on defense. And one arm. I know you probably saw that rep. Did you see that rep? One arm bull rushed him. Just took him straight back. And he was a smaller dude. He was like, we're talking about like a 275, 280 guy moving like a 330 guy with one arm. And I was like, yeah. And I know I'm not going to put you in the position. I personally think this is, Jay-Z, Go Back, Reasonable Doubt, one of the greatest albums ever. Politics as usual. That's exactly what this is. Top 20 pick. You got to get him in there. Because, listen, we were talking about it. Listen, our all three of our tunes changed, if you listen, right? When he first went down and Brandon Shell was performing, all three of us agreed, don't fix it if it ain't broke. Then we heard McDaniel last week and like, oh, they're going to fix it, even though it ain't broke. And it kind of blew up in their face. And I don't want to say, like, listen, I would never wish injury on anyone. But the issue here is, notice how organically, how naturally the football gods put Shell right back to right tackle because Armstead went down and Jackson went down. Like, we worked out to what we started with, just minus Terron Armstead. And now Jackson's out. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Richmond. What would be your line combination moving forward? Jackson's out. What would be your line combination moving forward if Terron Armstead is out? And then we're going to get into Terron Armstead.
Yeah, I was looking at that and the roster and stuff like that. And I think Jackson has a high ankle sprain. I never had that, but those are really hard to kind of come back from and recover. It probably won't get better to the offseason because ankle sometimes it can be feeling good and you make one wrong tweak move and you just wake up everything. So definitely I would put Shell at right tackle, Hunt and Jones will be my guards, Connor Williams, definitely the center, and then Little. They said it possibly Terron Armstead might play, but I don't expect him to. So I put Little at the left tackle, and then what I would do is I would kind of have an altered game plan in the event that if he's struggling or whatever over there at the left tackle, maybe send a guy to chip block every now and then just to kind of mix it up to kind of keep that defensive end where he can't just tee off on the guy. And I think
Ingold
he'll be all right.
Like an Ingold or Smythe to help him out.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take a big lick. It's just enough to get in his way to let him know he's over there.
Yeah. And okay, let's talk about Terron. Sorry, Bob, we're gonna get to you, but we got to get this stuff off here. Terron Armstead here. You dealt with a pec injury. Okay.
I did.
And you know, can you talk about this? Because right now it's a grade 2, it's a partial tear. And the reason why we're even talking about this right now, because when we all went to bed yesterday, we all expected no chance. What happened today was, to start off the presser, McDaniel was asked about, your 2 tackles, how are they doing? And he said, and I quote, "They're not tackling anyone. Terron Armstead continues to impress me as an individual and a professional and a teammate. I can tell you one thing that I'm certain of. If there's a way that he can be on the field and play in December against a playoff team, he lives for that moment." And I predicted, boys, that I didn't think he was going to be back till Christmas Day against the Packers. I thought he was going to miss 3 weeks. And as long as there's nothing keeping him from hurting his team or himself, he'll be out there. You can rest assured that he will do everything possible. And if he's unable to go, it will be because it would put himself and his teammates in harm's way. Austin Jackson, I would be surprised if he was able to play. I'm not expecting him able to play, but like you guys have heard me talk before, my crystal ball is not the clearest, so I won't guarantee anything. But me personally, I'd be very surprised if he played. And then he was asked a quick follow-up on Armstead. You said that on Monday he was getting more feedback on possible treatments. Did you get any clarity on maybe the timetable in terms of day-to-day, week-to-week, whether he would be able to practice this week's surgery? And so surgery, no. I guess you'd say it's a game to game. We're pretty relatively by percentage of, I guess it'd be like 2 or 3/7 of a week. It's been pretty recent. And in the process, he has, I can tell by his spirit, that he thinks there's a legitimate chance not to count him out for sure. And I'm not sure. I think he has the kind of, like, everyone reading and writing about that question. He really, really wants to help lead this team, which we rely on him to. So he was a little nervous, I think, in the 24 hours after, but in double the time, he's come back with a little pep in his step. So we're all excited to see that. Richmond, you've dealt with a similar injury. There's no way this guy plays this week when you're going up against guys like Bosa and that very good front set. There's no way.
Yeah, well, I think the difference, I completely tore mine where his is a grade 2, which is a pretty significant injury. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if he did play. Normally that shuts you down. So the good thing is it's a grade 2 and not a complete tear. If it was a complete tear, he would be on injury reserve. He wouldn't be back this year. So even if it is 3 games or whatever, or the Green Bay game or whatever, it'll be good to get him back. And I'd rather for him to be for sure, get some rest, let that calm down, and then be ready for the final stretch rather than try to rush him back out there too early and then he hurts it even worse, and then we lose him for the rest of the season. So I think we got to be smart in how we manage the injury with Terron Armstead. I know he wants to play competitor. He is one of the leaders on this team, which you love to see that attitude from your leaders. But at the same time, when you're this close and you got a really good chemistry and everything is going well, you got to be smart how you manage that injury. And that would be my advice. But I don't see him playing this week. It would surprise me if he could play this week.
BallGame, what's your take on this whole situation? Because here's my thing, brother. Listen, I'm not trying to jeopardize the playoff run for a week 13 game in San Francisco. We can't afford for it to end up what Richmond did, because Richmond, isn't that the same injury where they asked you to go back in and you're like, yo, I can't do this? Remember you
I tore my tricep. That was when I was with the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's a tricep. Yeah,
I tore my pec with the Bengals. But
yeah. We can't afford a full tear ball game, and it's not like he's going up against a bunch of jabronis here. Even if it was a bad team, these are NFL caliber players and athletes. I mean, and I know he won't get 110% healthy BallGame, but I mean, if he misses 2 or 3 weeks, is that really the worst thing when he's got to get that toe better too? I mean,
no, I don't think across the board it's a bad thing to err on the side of caution and shut a player down. But the problem is that as a veteran and a guy that's been dinged up and had injuries most of all of his career, they're going to probably allow him to decide if he can go as well. And it'll be a late call probably tomorrow, because I think they might take off to travel on Friday. So they'll walk through, they'll do some strength tests and stuff, put him through a little stuff, let him wear a brace. You know what I'm saying? They'll do all those things to do all of the checks to see. And then, at the end of the day, they're going to ask him, how do you feel? What do you think? I would say shut him down at this point, right? Just like my thing was that I knew that was also, I would shut him down just because, like, it's the long game that you got to be looking for, looking at, as opposed to anything else. And then even with Jackson, I didn't convince myself at any point that I thought Austin would be ready, because he's been on the sideline with a high ankle sprain for 6-7 weeks, and I knew he was going to be rusty, right? And I don't know too many players, if you do sit them down for that long, they're going to come back and look anything remotely close to what they look like. My thing was that I knew that was going to be a business season, so they was going to make an effort to try to get him back out there if they could, and it failed. So now they learned from that. Let Shell get back to doing what he was doing. He was very, very, very efficient there. And I agree with Richmond, they're going to have to figure out something for that backside with Little over there, chipping with Ingold or with Smythe or whoever else, just to slow Bosa up enough, to give Little a time to get into his sets and ensure that he doesn't get completely blown off of his landmarks, and this for Tua have an opportunity to, have a clean pocket. The business side of things always, man, messes with football, though, because at the end of the day, you're right, that top 20 pick selection that they did with Jackson is going to dictate how many opportunities they give him to fail over anything else. And even if he was stinking up the place, man, they still, Shell's 30, doing an amazing job, but Shell ain't a long-term option at that position either. You know what I mean? And with Jackson, I just think this is an unfortunate injury for him, but it might be probably the better one for him, because, just give him an opportunity to watch still and learn, and then just know that he can compete for the position next year if they shut him down. Because them high ankle sprains with the guys that big, man, he's never gonna be right all year. I'm sorry, he's just not coming back from that. High ankle sprains shut down running backs, and when you can't plant, when you can't put your weight, fully on that thing to get your power underneath you, or even it limits your athleticism, which is one of Jackson's strengths.
Biggest traits, yeah.
You just a target out there. So glad, shut him down don't hell and shut him down for the rest of the year. And those other guys, like you said, continuity was there. Obviously we got the offensive line guru with us here, so he said I can't say anything more eloquently than he did. The fact of the matter is that they were going to try to see at least. You know what I mean? Because I'd rather have the problem of having two guys that I can switch back and forth in at right tackle and have, as opposed to now we're down to just one, and Jackson's not going to be available for us. But it is what it is, and it's good to know now as opposed to later. Maybe he can come back and contribute something later in the playoff run if something happens to Shell, but we won't know until he fully figures out how they're going to address that high ankle sprain. And the guy his size, he's just a liability at this point to himself and to the entire continuity of the line. So yeah.
Let's stick with you, BallGame. What did you think about Eric Rowe? Because he's putting together some solid performances. Obviously, he can't blitz and offer what Brandon Jones does. And, people need to realize that's one of the things that's been hindering Boyer and how he's been able to call games is, you got Holland having to do more because he doesn't have Byron Jones and X on both sides. So he's got more responsibilities. Byron Jones also allows you to be more aggressive with your secondary. He's not around. And then one of your main aggressive guys in your secondary, Brandon Jones, is out too. And that's not a strength of Eric Rowe, but Eric Rowe's been playing pretty solid in everything they've asked him to do. What have been your thoughts on Eric Rowe's play lately? Because I've actually been, for a guy we saw nosedive off a little bit of a cliff, he's been actually quietly pretty solid.
Well, for me, man, the fact that Eric, who is a converted corner that got shifted to safety and had arguably the hardest responsibilities, in my opinion, for one-on-one matchups in regards to dealing with a tight end who is generally giving up anywhere between 35, 40, sometimes 50 pounds. To be playing where he is right now, he just basically went back into the bag that he used last year. You know what I'm saying? And he was he was hell of efficient last year for doing the exact things we asked him to do right now. Just eliminate your guy, cover your guy. Don't let your guy be a factor that's going to hurt us. And those things, for me, I'm not surprised because he was always doing that good. The problem is, and the thing that Eric is working against Eric is his age. And because Brandon took such a huge leap forward in his versatility of being able to do so many different other things inside the defense, that's what shelved Eric. Eric's not. Those aren't Eric's fortes. But Brandon, being linebacker mindset and a safety body, the guy was just perfectly fit to be doing all of that blitzing and all of the stuff that's inside the box and everything. But when I go back and I think about
Rowe's a better coverage guy, though, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, his natural instincts as a cover corner, and then converted to safety, you can see it. It jumps out at you on the film, and then when we watching the tape, he's back in his natural element, and he doesn't also have to worry about anybody taking his spot. He ain't looking over his shoulder right now. He can play free, right? He knew last year to some degree that the young gun was coming. Like anybody with any common sense, he gonna be, at 30 years old at the end of the season, so they're going to be looking to make a transition, and Brandon gave a really good effort in regards to saying, you know what, we can rely on this guy to be the future at this position. And then you saw it. There was a immediate shift in the reps. And, they didn't go wrong. It's just unfortunate that Brandon got hurt. But, all in all, you rely on a veteran, to step in and step up and do exactly what Rowe is doing. And he's earning his paycheck, and he's ensuring that position in particular is not a downfall on the defense. So I'm not surprised at all, bro, to be honest.
Another interesting thing that came out of Sunday was that little piece by CBS. We all heard it, and then there was a little portion of the post-game interview. I'll play it for you guys here so everyone can hear exactly what we're talking about. And I just think it's, I want to ask you guys, is this further proof that Brian Flores almost ruined Tua Tagovailoa's career and McDaniel saved it? So I'll play this here so everyone can hear what we're talking about, but we'll get into it.
Tua was about as honest as he could be with us yesterday, telling us that multiple times during the year last year, he looked in the mirror and he asked himself, do I suck? He genuinely didn't know if he belonged on this level because he was so beleaguered by both the fan base and his coaches. And then Mike McDaniel put together a 700-play tape just showing how good he actually is. So as you look to this stretch drive, so much is leadership and playing together. Yesterday, Mike McDaniel said, you are the reason he got into coaching. Can you please share just a little bit what it's like to play with him?
Well, having someone that, first off, believes in you makes all the difference. Having someone that calls me randomly, just telling me how much I mean to him and the things that he's trying to accomplish and we're trying to accomplish as a team. You know, and it's cool. I've never had that. I've never experienced that. This is my first time having that kind of relationship with someone, you know, of that type of authority, being the head coach of an organization. But just love that guy.
So they even wanted to joke on about how, I guess because McVay does it and some of the other coaches do, I guess McDaniel wants to go on vacation with Tua. And Tua's like, no, I won't go on vacation. Richmond, but is this just further proof? Like, I mean, the kid was looking like, we already know the toxic people on our fan base. I mean, me and BallGame can point them out by the dozens. And so we already know who those culprits are. But they mentioned the coaches. And the reason why I say this is because there's something in the summer we covered, and I covered on Inside the NFL, that I don't think enough people talked about. And it was that Jalen Phillips press conference, boys, when he said that he had to get a confidence coach because of what the coaching staff did to him last year. And from a confidence standpoint, you know, just from a mental standpoint, what they did to him. And, you know, that was something that was kind of swept under the rug and not talked about. But now you got Tua sitting there looking himself in the mirror, and BallGame, me, you, and Martin break down the film all the time. We knew the kid didn't suck. He had at least shown he was a competent starter in an offense with nothing around him, from coaching to personnel. All right. And, you know, that's come to fruition. Now we see what he is. But, you know, Richmond, you've been in locker rooms. You know, when you hear something like that, I got to ask you, did Brian Flores almost ruin this kid's career? And did Mike McDaniel save him? And is that further proof of it?
I'll say this. And this is where I'll put it, and I'll tell you the reason why I put it this way. I definitely believe Brian Flores, based on what he's saying, impacted it in a negative way. No question about it. Even like you brought up Phillips, this and that. A lot of time your head coach, especially when you're a quarterback or something like that, you need to believe that they got confidence in you to get the job done at that position. If you don't have that, especially being a young player, because one, he came in, he was injured, played before he should have. But at the same time, in your mind, you're the fifth pick in the draft. You want to prove that you're not a bust, you're worthy. And then, like you brought up, and I broke down personnel changes and offensive scheme. I think the first 2 years, that scheme did not fit Tua. But you see McDaniel come in, and with the personnel, the acquisitions he made in the offseason, the offensive scheme we're running right now, and he even told him at the beginning when he got here, I expect you to be great, but you're going to have to work. And I don't think Tua's never had a issue working or this and that. I don't think that's everything. But I definitely think it impacted. I think the thing that possibly helped Tua, and he probably don't realize it now, is he's a man of faith. And even though he was struggling and questioning his ability and this and that, you know, with him being a man of faith, I think it all worked out in the end. You know, nobody, at least I didn't think that there was going to be a coaching change in the offseason. It just kind of caught everybody back. But all the pieces aligned and came together. McDaniel, maybe BallGame, but I did. I mean, when I first heard it, I did. But got the coach. You got other guys surrounded by you. You know, Waddle was there. That was a teammate of his at Alabama. But then you bring in another leader, Tyreek Hill, Cheetah, this and that. And so when you get like-minded individuals working together like that, it's a whole lot easier to achieve success and this and that. And I think that comment was directed more at probably the previous regime in the NFL. I don't think he had that relationship with Nick Saban at Alabama, but I don't think it was a hostile.
But Nick loves them.
Right,
they love each other.
Yeah.
Like, you still know they love each other, right? Like, you know, Nick has legit affection for the guy, and it's just he was a coach. He was a coach like his dad, right? He probably saw a lot of similarities with his dad, right?
Right. And the thing I can say about Saban, and then I'll turn over the BallGame, was even with Jalen Hurts, you know, Jalen lost his position to Tua, but, you know, he stayed there, graduated. And then when it was time for him to move on, he had another year eligibility. He said that I think he was looking at going to the University of Miami or Maryland or something. And he said, Coach Saban sat him down. He said, "Who's got the best offense in the college?" And he said, "Oklahoma." He said, "That's where you need to go." And he said Saban told him that even though he knew he might have to play against him, he did what was best for the kid. And that's what I think that's why he's so well respected by his former players and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just glad Tua's in a better space. He's even exceeded what he was doing at the University of Alabama, and he still hadn't hit his ceiling. So Coach McDaniel was blessing him.
But look at this. Like, it's not just Tua too. Look at Armstead. Armstead's thinking about playing through this injury because the way McDaniel conducts himself has resonated through the locker room, and these guys are truly playing for the guy next to him. It comes down to Armstead knows what's going on is special, and he doesn't want to let Tua and the whole offense and his coaching staff down, even if it means getting healthier, right? Like, these guys are willing to risk more significant injury to play for each other right now. Like, and we saw last year. I mean, the only one that isn't is Byron Jones, and we know why, because that was Flores' little teacher's pet, right? And but guys weren't willing to. We didn't see this, but Brian Flores was holding guys out last year, Tua, right? So, I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, bro. From a coaching standpoint, right? We have to. I think the great coaches always look to inspire and encourage first and foremost, right? Most of these kids, by the time you get them, they already know that they're talented, right? But when they experience some level of difference, and I say difference in terms of an injury or not as much success as they're accustomed to, they have fragile egos, bro. And at the quarterback position, because it's one of the most dependent positions
and scrutinized, most dependent and scrutinized. Yeah.
If you don't have someone in your corner that without a shadow of a doubt is willing to walk through that with you, right? Instead of pushing you into the wall and just saying, hey, figure it out. That's hard. That's hard to navigate mentally, emotionally. You know what I'm saying? The physical aspects of things sometimes work themselves out. But if you're in your head too much about whether or not this person is really there for you and really has your best interest, it affects a lot of different things, man. And, that's why I was always so passionate about give the kid a chance, man. He's still a kid.
And BallGame, remember when we saw Landon Roberts go to bat for him on the sideline?
Yeah, he said
the players were clearly for him, right?
It's not you, bro. It's not you. That's what he said clearly to him, right? I think, a lot of coaches still often at times, man, because there's such this, they have to win. They forget that their job, like I said, their job is to inspire, man, and encourage. And for Tua, I'm glad for him, bro. I'm extremely proud. I'm extremely happy for him because I didn't think that someone who is just a genuinely good person, man, and is a spiritual man, spiritual person, and wouldn't hurt anyone. For him to have to endure, we all go through our trials and tribulations. You see what I'm saying? So that Brian Flores was his.
I'm ashamed that our franchise allowed Brian Flores to put him through that, especially with what we're seeing right now.
I mean, there could always be this. Listen, there could always be this thought process in the back of his mind that he was thinking, if I treat him like
the cachet, and I can get this guy out of here.
That, or you know what I'm saying. I can push him and make him tougher. But your job is not to push your quarterback so hard that you break him, because when you break him and you don't have the ability to fix him, then you've ruined him. Your job would be to challenge him, right? Ask him for things that he's capable of and some things that he's not. Let him meet those markers and then put more on his plate. But because they're coming out so young. But I don't think Brian coming from New England.
You got a good understanding, and you're the perfect one to talk about this and for me to ask this because you are a defensive-minded coach. Do you think this is what happens when you got some guys? Was this what? Because I mean, even you would say it.
This is what happens.
Even you would say, "I don't care about drafting quarterback." I don't. Right. Is this what happens when you have that disconnect of such a defensive? Yes. I mean, as much as McDaniel's an offensive genius, you could say Flores flirts with defensive genius, but just more on the coordinator side, right? So is that what you're running into right now? That disconnect between a defensive mind and.
That is exactly why I say what I say. That I don't want to give two craps about quarterbacks, because at the end of the day, my job is to destroy those guys. And on the defensive side of the ball, the mindset is different. The mindset is divide and conquer, destroy at all costs, right? Over on the other side, offense is about execution to the utmost and to the highest level of execution. Everybody has to do exactly what they're supposed to do at all times for it to work seamlessly and flawlessly. But on defense, I could have a breakdown somewhere and it still be covered up by the great play of somebody else, and we still sack the shit out the quarterback, knock him out the game. Because if we know if we can get to him long enough and we can upset him enough, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be in his head. He's gonna be looking for ghosts, and then game over. And then the pass rush takes over, and then all those things come to fruition. But defensively, right? You got a guy that comes from that mindset, trying to go over and deal one-on-one with a quarterback. There's going to be a disconnect because he's not looking at it from the same lens. There's no way, right? Our objectives are completely different, and the way we're going to go about them is completely different, because I don't have guys I'm not going to have a guy on my defense that I got to worry about supremely about his ego. But your ego for your quarterback and his ability to feel like you really and truly have invested in him. Like, my defensive tackle ain't going to give two shits as long as I tell him, listen, man, on this A-gap. That's all I need you to do. And he know that for a fact, that as long as he don't let nobody come through his A-gap or the B-gap, I'm good with him. And he ain't going to never have to worry about me, because I'm not going to be that centered upon him. But that quarterback position, because everybody is looking at it, if you're a defensive coordinator trying to coach a quarterback, that's a disconnect in my opinion. All the way across the board. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's going to create other issues in the relationship, because you're not talking the same language. I'm talking Guyanese and you're talking French to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or I'm talking Creole.
Like even Belichick needed offensive coordinators like McDaniels between him and Brady.
And if you look at the dynamics, right? They love each other before what they were able to do with each other. But shit, Bill walked right by.
Wouldn't even say hi to him in the morning.
In the mornings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was strictly business. That's all it was.
That's it.
You perform or you're gone. That's
you're
it.
Gone. That's
Richmond, have you, like, what have your thoughts always been about that whole? Because I played offense growing up. So my whole thing is I've never been a fan of defensive head coaches unless you have a lack of ego. He basically needed to do what McDaniel did in the reverse. McDaniel said, Boyer, you guys go, you deal with it, you shore it up. We'll make sure you guys get your guys, et cetera, et cetera. Flores was trying to be, too many hands and too many different pots going on right now. You know what I mean? Do you think that was probably one of, we all know ego was a big thing of him, but do you think even just, allowing someone else to run the offense in terms of what Flip of McDaniel has done, that do you think that could have long-term saved his job? Or do you think no, because it seems like he has the personality that just would have been overbearing and stepping in anyways?
I think BallGame hit it on the head. You got to look where he came from. And that's what he knew. That's what he learned. He was in the system from a scout to getting the coaching it. So he saw it from the scouting department all the way through the coaching department coming up. So that's what he knew, and that's all he knew. Whereas, McDaniel's come out of a totally different system. It's just like, guys you hear come out of the West Coast system. That's one way of a kind of different thinking concept. Whereas, if you played up under Parcells, a Chuckno, a Shula, those were old hard hit. Not saying Shula didn't care about you, but him and Dan used to get into it, this and that. But Shula was never a guy to just beat you down. If he knew Dan was he'd tell the coordinator, hey, y'all get together and we're going to win. Y'all just do what we need to do to win. So both work. It's just, and the thing I thought about when BallGame said that was Phillips. Now, Phillips a defensive guy, but for him to have to go do basically the same thing to rebuild his confidence, he was probably a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It's just, so.
X hated him. Our franchise guy hated him.
Yeah, you can be too hard on your players, but you can be hard on them as long as they trust you doing what's best for them and you truly genuinely want them, they'll give it all to you. But if they ever If they ever figure that, they'll be like, they're not buying in.
This is what I figured out, man. In all the years of coaching football, bro, like it's the relationship you establish up front with the players will determine how hard and how long you can how long you can push them. You see what I'm saying? And when you come in right out the gate after guys have been beaten and they've been being beaten down and they ain't had much success and whatnot, they don't want you to come in and sugarcoat things for them, but they also don't want you to come in treating them like they don't know what the hell going on. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And bringing your system in and bringing your philosophies and your way of life into a situation doesn't require you berating players, you know what I'm saying, and making examples of players that have been there through all of that loss, right? Because at that point, when you get on the field and you losing too, they looking at you like, well, damn, ain't much change, but you still beating us down. Like, get your foot off our neck, coach. Like, we the ones out here. We need you to be lifting us up. You know what I mean? And there's a balance to it. And I think, you know what I'm saying, he sold me a little bit when he was saying it takes no talent. But at the same time, behind the scenes, you're doing all these other things that were basically stripping down the confidence of a kid who had already just come through one of the most horrific injuries that any player could have ever experienced.
And holding him out for longer than you should, which is detrimental to our team just because you want to push your boy Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Politicking.
Yeah.
No room for him, man. All right, let's flip over on this. Obviously 3-game road trip before we get in specifically to the 49ers. I'm just going to flat out ask it. You know, you guys can take it from there. Should we be worried about the offensive line over the next few weeks?
I always take it a week by week basis. Okay. I think sometimes when you start trying to group them or put a cluster together, you won't focus on what you truly focus on. So my focus is the 49ers right there. Once we take care of business there, we'll move on to the Chargers in the next one. Do we got a tough 3-game stretch? Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, we do. I don't think that's a secret to anybody, but my focus is the 49ers putting together the best game plan, putting these guys in the best position to be successful and go out there and execute, knowing that we do have some injuries at key positions, but how do we overcome this hurdle and continue what we've been doing? So that will be my focus this week.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always about one game at a time. You know, there's no benefit to looking ahead, and I look at this as a golden opportunity for the guys that will be up front playing on the offensive line. You know, we talk a lot about the offensive line, but there's some really good offenses that we're about to play as well. So defensively, this gives our guys an opportunity to also go out and, you know what I'm saying, test their skill sets against some of the premier players in the league, you know what I'm saying, at the positions opposite them. So it's a win-win for me, right? Like you said earlier, but if we come out of this thing 1-2, I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to stress too much about that because I understand exactly what we're down in terms of personnel and things of that nature. But if they come out of this thing 3-0, look out, stand by. Like, swagger level is going to be on tilt, bro. And you know what I'm saying? The one thing that won't bite no one, right? When you see that they moving Dolphins to primetime Sunday games, they're noticing without a shadow of a doubt that this team, they are playing for each other and they are about business. It is no secret that people around the nation now at this point are tuning in. So even if they do travel all the way to the West Coast, and let's say they lose to say they lose to Frisco, I don't think we will at this point. But it's one of the games that could trip us up early because it's a change in venues, a change in time, and things of that nature. But there's so much in this game that can be taken away from it that even if they do lose, it could still be a plus because now you know where you stand. Now you know what you got to do to get ready because none of us here would disagree that the 49ers can get back there and be the team that could potentially represent the NFC. So sharpening your knife against them. If you come out of there with the victor, that says a lot about where you are. And if you don't, and they just do get by you, that says a lot too. And that means that we're still trending in the right direction. So I don't think taking a loss to them actually sets us back in any form and fashion. And Ain't no point in looking ahead of him because I think to some degree, if Mike is the type of coach that I believe he is, he had it circled on the schedule. You have to. You're going home. He got to go. You got to face who people are saying is your mentor, but I don't necessarily agree. I think he was the mastermind behind a lot of what they did because they scored 13 points last week against the Saints team that was in total disarray, and that ain't really saying much. So and people saying, "Oh well, y'all, you beat the Texans," but hell, the Texans down there beat the Eagles. So,
and I mean, people, I don't know, like they had a top 15. I know they're missing Derek Stanley, but they had a top 15 pass defense coming to that game.
Facts.
Let's talk about that quickly before your guys' initial thoughts when we got flexed, because man, that was the first time since the league started flexing in 2006 that we've been flexed. So a Sunday night game, Twitter is going to be a freaking wasteland with Herbert versus Tua. That's going to be awesome to watch that world burn down. Man, just quickly, are you guys like, I'm super stoked for this, and I don't think it's going to be the last flex of the season. How are you guys feeling about it?
I feel good about it. Typically, that's the good thing with having the flex system in the NFL now, because typically the Dolphins will be rewarded for their play the following year. Now we get a primetime game because I'm sure as people been watching say, yeah, the Dolphins are 8-3, but a lot of people probably hadn't really just saw them play. So this gives an opportunity to be primetime where Sunday night football you own and you get to showcase, and I think that's hype, especially when you get to playing, and especially those defensive guys, offensive guys, defensive bit. Imagine if Chubb and Phillips get going like they did and really get after Herbert and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it really validates you as a player because other people around the league get to see you play and say, no, this cat can ball right here. He should be in the Pro Bowl. He should be an All-Pro. This and that. I think they already know about Cheetah, but they see the stats on Waddle and stuff. But when you get to see it and you sitting back and you done played your game, and say, these boys for real, they got a nice. We need to pay attention to them because look like they're gonna be in the playoffs if they keep playing like this.
The crazy thing is that we would say people know the Cheetah and things of that nature, but when a lot of fans, man, a lot of fans are true to their team, and they only watch football based on the teams that their team plays. So if their team doesn't play or never played Kansas City in the last, say, 2 or 3 seasons, they know the name, but they ain't never really seen them play. You see what I'm saying? And fans are a lot like football players. Like, you can get 10 football players together and ask them specifically, hey, outline for me the 8 divisions in the NFL, and they can't tell you what teams are in those divisions. You see what I'm saying? So, I know a whole bunch of guys that played in the league, and they still can't tell you who the teams are in the AFC South. You know what I'm saying? Or who's over in the NFC West. You see what I'm saying? They just don't know. But they know who was on their schedule because they were so dialed in to doing just their job. They didn't care about the other aspects of the structure of the NFL. They, I play the game to get paid. But, people going to be in for a treat, man, to be able to see this team on prime time with a game that they're probably going to talk up extremely high because of the fact that he's 1-0 against Herbert already. You take him down again, you know what I'm saying? Then what? But then will he have back his complement of weapons? Because will Mike Williams be back? Will Keenan Allen be back? Because, people going to make excuses. Everybody else get excuses except Tua, which is also something they got to get over this, man. Like, kid done fought through all this stuff, and y'all still make every excuse for everybody else, but he can't get no grace and mercy. You know what I'm saying? So
Eric Armstead was limited today for the 49ers, but they still got a really, it becomes a really good, he's underrated. Nick Bosa, we all know he's a beast. That's second level. Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. I mean, even Al Shahir, they're really they got their front seven is quite good. Are you guys walking into this game, especially if Armstead isn't out there, even if Shell's at back at right tackle, do you view this front seven as a significant mismatch for our offensive line?
I feel pretty good with Shell at right tackle. I mean, he's been solid this whole year. So the concern is just the left tackle position. But I'm not concerned about Shell. I think he'll do pretty good against Nick Bosa in the way that McDaniel mixes up the RPOs. He always hits you with some stuff, and you'd be like, man. So I know he knows that defense and stuff like that, and he knows where the holes are, this and that, and blah blah. And they probably, that's why I said should be a good chess match. I think D'Amico Ryans is the coordinator over there, so it should be good. But the only thing I'm concerned about is if Little struggles a little bit, just give him. You can't help him every play, but just mix it in where you give him some help in the event that if he don't need help and they hold it down. It could be ugly. So that's my only question mark right there.
I think for me, man, I think the biggest thing is that, like, when you factor in the creativity of Josh, man, and how he's able to come up with some of these blocking schemes to ensure that, you know what I'm saying, the deficiencies of guys don't necessarily stand out. You know what I'm saying?
Ball game.
And then he knows ability this day. That I think when you factor in his ability to mastermind things and be, you know what I'm saying, the mad scientist, I think he got something in store for him. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he's not really letting known as to who's gonna be where, you know what I mean? That's just a part of the game that he's playing in terms of you'll see who's there on Sunday, which is a great thing, because at the end of the day, he's been uniquely different in the blocking schemes every game. They don't do the same thing every game, which is where it throws teams off when teams try to prepare for them, because what you might have seen last week, there's another little wrinkle that comes with it for the week that you're currently in, and it throws teams off. Like Myles Garrett said, I hate to say it, but I hate to repeat it, but Myles Garrett said they had an answer for everything we did.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This guy is a mastermind at preparation, and he understands truly. He said, I can design the perfect play, but it's about execution. And these guys work their tails off to be precise in their execution, and that's why this offense is successful. So I don't know. I think you know, Myles Garrett is the best defensive. To me personally, Myles Garrett the best defensive end in the league right now, hands down. And they neutralized him. Terron Armstead did it. We're gonna have to do it a little different and give Little some help, but I still think they're gonna have a plan in place to do it, man. And when a guy gets chipped, when a guy starts getting chipped enough, right? You understand, Richmond? You know what that does to a guy, man. It frustrates the crap out of him. Then he gets completely out of his, you know, you know.
Every time he sees motion coming or he's wondering, is this guy gonna hit me or is he gonna?
Now you got him thinking, bro. So.
And when you got him thinking and not reacting, that's when you catch him.
That's when you're winning. That's when you're winning. Yeah.
On the flip side, Eli Mitchell's out. Christian McCaffrey didn't practice today. They might be relying on a kid like Jordan Mason.
Not good for them.
You know how huge could this be for us defensively, especially considering how shaky our road defense has been of late. If you take away one of the best things this team can possibly do, and their best guys at doing it, you know, could this be a chance for this shaky road defense we've had lately to maybe right the ship?
Yeah. It could be, and this might be a game that the defense kind of finally pushes together and surprises us on the road and start playing like they have it at home. I mean, you got 8, maybe 9, it just depends on how you schedule, but you got either 8 home games or 9 home games, or 8 road games or 9 road games. But they've struggled on the road, but I just can't see them struggling all of the games on the road. I think eventually it's going to come together, and everybody going to say, man, this is what we'd be looking for. Will it be this game? I hope so, but I don't know, but it is a possibility. And if they put it together, we definitely going to be a force to reckon with. So I've just been patiently waiting. When you get both sides of the ball come together where they're all hitting on all cylinders, that's when you know you feel real good then.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, BallGame.
No, I think to some degree they hear what's being said about them and their role performances. They have to. Like, as true professionals, no one wants to continue to have to go week to week sitting in the film room being told by the defense coordinator, bro, y'all got to do better. We got to tighten this up. What are we doing here? All these different things, which have to be the conversations I'm hoping that they have. Because otherwise, if they're not having those type of conversations, then what are we paying guys really to be doing? And
don't you get the sense that they want to win this game for McDaniel? Like, I get the sense that not only is everyone playing for each other, but the reason Terron Armstead wants to go this week is because he wants to win this game for McDaniel.
Right. Yeah. That's
they
it,
love
man.
their coach.
They love the coach.
Bro, when you're willing to run through a wall for a coach and you want to win games genuinely for your coach, guys, that's, again, what have we said? Our only enemy is health. If we can stay healthy.
That type of devotion and that type of teamwork, team.
That's how you build something special, BallGame.
And camaraderie, bro, it's hard to defeat that. It really is. It takes a supreme effort by the other team on the opposite side to defeat that when you got guys out there playing for each other. Being selfless and playing for each other and laying it all on the line. That's hard to defeat, bro. I mean,
Evan writes in, he says, I'm watching the San Francisco game right now against the Saints, and I'm telling you that offense got lucky a lot. Listen, that offense can just click. I mean, when I saw that stat a couple weeks ago that they're 10-2 when Jimmy G doesn't throw a touchdown, that just shows you how much they even rely on the guy to throw the football. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, we'll get it done with or without you, Jimmy. You know what I mean? Just don't turn the ball over, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 53 degrees with like a 30% chance of rain.
Yeah. So. And Mostert's going to be back too. Look, he ain't going to miss this game.
He ain't going to miss this game.
What are your guys' final thoughts on the Niners, Dolphins, and give me your score predictions. Richmond, start with you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it might be a closer game. I still believe the Dolphins can pull this game out, but. The way I'm looking at it, I think the points, I'm just thinking the points you brought up, the guys actually wanting to win this game for McDaniel. So that's extra incentive, this and that. But my score prediction, I'm taking the Dolphins, and I think I picked 23-17 Dolphins. I think it's going to be something like that. But I'm always under. So I'm a little bit more conservative, but it could be more points than that. But I think it'll be something like that. That's my score prediction. But I see the Dolphins can still pull this one out.
What's the score prediction again?
23-17. That's what I picked.
I like it.
I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go based on the fact that we're on the road playing against them. These guys are going to be in each other's head. They're going to be doing this ultimate chess match. I'm gonna say 21-17.
Okay.
Yeah, Dolphins win. And sheer determination and will and playing for each other, not individual ball. And it gives Eric Rowe a chance to go out there and shut Kittle down again, which he did previously before. So,
Oh man, this is I think we're gonna pull it out, but again, we're going against. This is the definition of one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. All right. This is the number one total defense. They only allowed 281 yards a game. This is their number 11 against the pass. They allow about 202 yards a game. They're number one against the rush. They allow 79.5 yards a game. And they're the number one scoring defense. They allow about 15.7 points per game. And they're at home. And they have the 8th most sacks in the NFL at 33 already. I think I'll give my score prediction on Finside the NFL when I do the deep dive preview of the game, but I think this is going to be a tight game. And I think both teams, there's a good chance. I want to hear something crazy? I think there might be under 35 points altogether in this game between both teams. I think that's very realistic. So that's where I'm at, man. This is why I'm excited, boys, because they're coming on and they're always a team. The way they're coached, the way they're built, they're always an NFC Championship contender, and I feel this is one of our best remaining challenges on this schedule, if not the best. and test in terms of it, you know. So man, we'll see. I'm excited, boys, and I hope we're meeting back here for another victory. One thing I did want to shout out one of our viewers, King Z305. It's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, King. I wanted to shout him out and give him props. He's a avid watcher, listener. He's a big supporter. So, gentlemen, always a pleasure. And wait till we drop that new intro that I'll be working on for these people. You don't even know it. You don't even know it's coming. Guys, in terms of what might be coming up on the channel, I might be doing it tonight. I still haven't watched Mike McDaniel's Mic'd Up. So I'm thinking I'm going to live react to it, record that, and I'll upload that in the morning for all of y'all. I'll give you something on Thursday to watch. Friday, I'll be back for the deep dive. I'm seeing if I can work on something for Saturday for all y'all, but I'm not going to go into details because I'm not even close to locking it down, but I'm trying to get another 49ers Dolphin thing going on, maybe potentially on Saturday. Sunday, we'll be live reacting to the game, and we'll be doing the post game. Man, you know, buckle up, strap it in. I think this is going to be the toughest test left on the schedule, like I said. And gentlemen, I think this is going to have a playoff game feel. Get your popcorn, lock in. I'm envious of all of y'all that aren't going to be on camera, because this is one of those games where you lock yourself in the room, you know, you get your favorite snack, your favorite beverage, and you laser in, because I'm telling you, this is going to have a playoff vibe. I will be shocked
I believe that.
if a team blows the other team out. I think this is going to be, listen, I think both teams are going to be under 20 points.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I might be selling them short, but hey, man.
The Samoan sniper might have something other to say about that, though.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Because, hey, the way our defense has been playing lately, I might be out of my mind right now on the road. You know what I mean? So, another thing, too, guys, before we get out of here, shout out to Scotty Joe for the he sent a $4 PayPal donation. So shout out to Scotty, man. Scotty Joe, I believe. Yeah, Scotty Joe. Appreciate you. No message attached to it, but hey, bro, it's all love. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here next Thursday. Until next time, everyone stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. We will see y'all back here next week at the finish line. And as always, fins up all day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay. Let's go, baby.